we're kicking off with Raw, and after a video recapped some of the events surrounding the world title, Cody Rhodes made his way to the ring and made it clear that he and Jey Uso were going to win tonight. Rhodes vowed that he and Jey would regain the tag titles before talking about Wargames and introducing his team, which saw a little confrontation between Cody and Seth Rollins. As usual, the Judgment Day came out to interrupt, and in addition to their usual insults, the group of heels implied that Rhodes and his team would never be able to get along. Rollins said that everyone's been talking too much and challenged McDonagh and Dominik Mysterio to face himself and Zayn, which was made official during the commercial break. Back from the break, it was a pretty standard tag match, and both teams had decent chemistry despite not regularly teaming together. Zayn and Seth gave fans plenty of moments to cheer while McDonagh and Dirty Dom sold their offense well. And while this match was a throwaway in the grand scheme of things, it showed the talents of all four combatants. Between the opening segment and this match, it was over 35 minutes before Rhea Ripley arrived with Finn Balor and Damian Priest to cause the DQ, and the arrival of Jey and Cody turned this into a brawl. An irate Adam Pearce said that everyone who wasn't involved in the tag title main event would be banned from the arena, causing concern for the Judgment Day. This was just the latest issue for the group, as earlier in the night, during their standoff with Survivor Series opponents, Damian Priest declared himself the leader of the faction. This got a look from the other superstars present, and it was obviously a tense moment that was later acknowledged. Rhea Ripley felt that it made sense to have Damian Priest lead the Judgment Day in Wargames, and it was made official, and another official declaration saw McDonagh become the official fifth member of the group. McDonagh had been an ally of the faction for some time, but has been rejected by Ripley and Priest in the past, but his work in the run-up to Wargames seems to have won them over. Priest, the biggest skeptic of McDonagh in the past, even gave him a jacket to officially induct him into the faction, and now the Judgment Day, like Damage Control, has 5 members. The main event of Raw saw the undisputed tag team titles on the line, as Damian Priest and Finn Balor defended against Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, and with plenty of time left on the clock. With WWE giving the bout 35 minutes of the show with entrances included, there was plenty of time for the talent to deliver, starting with a furious lockup by Jey and Finn. After Balor scored the first takedown, main event Jey was back to his feet, and things quickly came to a brawl between the four men, adding more excitement to the match. The only downside to this match was that the outcome was predictable, but how we got there was a surprise to some, as Drew McIntyre leveled Jey with a claymore while the ref was distracted. Adam Pearce had banned anyone in the opening segment from being at the match, but McIntyre wasn't a part of the opening segment, and he gave the Judgment Day an easy path to victory. It's been reported that WWE is considering adding McIntyre to the Judgment Day's side for Wargames, and if so, Cody Rhodes' team will need a fifth man of their own. After Raw went off the air, Cody said that McIntyre must be a friend of the Judgment Day, but he and Jey Uso have friends of their own. This led to a loud Randy chant, as fans are hoping to see Randy Orton return in time for Survivor Series, but Cody didn't comment on the fans wanting to see the Viper. If Orton does return, it's believed his arrival will be announced in the days before Survivor Series so that fans don't think that CM Punk will be the fifth man for Team Cody. Orton has been out of action for over a year and a half and is reportedly defying the advice of doctors to make a return, and that return could be very soon if the WWE Universe has its way. It was at SummerSlam that fans last saw Brock Lesnar compete in the ring, and it's been reported that the Beast is not expected to return until next year. In an update, Bryan Alvarez revealed on Wrestling Observer Radio that Lesnar isn't going to be back until the Royal Rumble, despite not currently being advertised for the event. As for what Lesnar will do at the event, that remains to be seen, but it could be that he will be a surprise entrant in the Men's Royal Rumble match, a bout that he has won twice before. Will Lesnar join Stone Cold Steve Austin as a 3-time winner of the match? It's possible, but whatever the case may be, don't expect Brock back until January of next year. It's been over 3 decades since Chris Jericho started his wrestling career, but even now, the AEW star is still reaching new milestones in his career. This past weekend, Jericho made his debut for DDT Pro Wrestling, where he faced off against Don Callis family member Konosuke Takeshita in a hard-hitting showdown. In the end, Jericho would get the win with the Walls of Jericho, and the two would shake hands in a show of respect after the match. On this week's Dynamite, Jericho and Takeshita will be on opposing sides of an 8-man tag team street fight, where Takeshita will no doubt look to get back his win after losing in Jericho's DDT debut. Both Chris Jericho and Konosuke Takeshita had been announced for DDT Pro Wrestling's Ultimate Party event, but one name fans hadn't expected to see was WWE's Shinsuke Nakamura. During the show, veteran Joshi wrestler Saki Akai had her final match, ending a retirement tour that began in May, and she was honored via a video package and a bouquet of flowers. That video included some big names, including Hiroshi Tanahashi and Nakamura, who wished Akai a happy retirement and had plenty of kind words for the veteran performer. This marks the second time in under a year that Nakamura has appeared for a non-WWE show, as he faced the Great Muta for Noah in January of this year as part of Muta's retirement tour. As for Saki Akai, she worked hard to become one of the top Joshi wrestlers over the past 12 years, but she can now look forward to taking things easy after hanging up her boots. It was back at SummerSlam that Jimmy Uso turned on his brother, and in the 3 months since Jimmy's treacherous actions, the two brothers have yet to make amends. Both have interfered in matches with the other, and during a WWE live event in Roanoke, Virginia, the two crossed paths in a very intense moment. This moment came about after Jay's match with JD McDonagh, and as Jimmy was making his way to the ring for his match with Kevin Owens, a match that saw a nod to Roman Reigns. During the bout, Uso attempted to perform Reigns' signature Superman punch, complete with hand motion, but it was nothing, as he ended up eating a stunner instead. Owens would go on to defeat Jimmy at the event, and given Jimmy's interaction with Jay, it's clear that WWE are working on something bigger between the two. When Ringside News asked about the use of creative at live events, a WWE source said that angles are different, with some being pitched by creatives and others coming from Road Dogg Jesse James. James is WWE's Senior VP of Live Events, and it was said that these ideas have to get approved either by James if the idea is from creative, or by Triple H if the idea is for James himself. It's been reported that WWE wants Jimmy vs. Jay Uso at WrestleMania 40, which wouldn't be the first brother vs. brother match at WrestleMania, but after this interaction, expect the two to face off next year in Philly. Right now, Sammy Guevara is out of action with a concussion, and that's forced AEW to change up plans that will take place later this week. On tomorrow's Dynamite, Paul White, Chris Jericho, Kota Ibushi, and Kenny Omega will face the Don Callis family in a street fight, but one member of the heel side wasn't supposed to be there. As Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful explains, Brian Cage, a recent addition to the Don Callis family, is filling the planned spot for Sammy Guevara, who, until his concussion, was set to compete. Cage was added to the family on the latest live Rampage after Callis himself had discussions with Prince Nana, and Cage joins Powerhouse Hobbs, Konosuke Takeshita, Guevara, and Kyle Fletcher. As to whether Cage would have joined the family at all if Guevara wasn't hurt, that's unclear, but this isn't the only change to this massive street fight. Due to a sponsorship, the match will be called the Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name Street Fight, but originally was going to be called the Final Boss Battle Street Fight. While Sammy won't be competing, his time away at least allows him a chance to spend time with his pregnant wife, Ty Mello, and we'll have to see when either are ready to get back in the ring. Guevara has a lot of stories to tell in AEW, but he needs to stay healthy in order to tell them in the ring, and we hope that he's back soon after AEW was forced to change their plans. Back to Raw, as Xia Li was out to take on Indi Hartwell, which came about after Li defeated Candice LeRae 2 weeks ago and continued her violent ways by attacking Becky Lynch last week. For this week's match, Hartwell took control early on, but when the pair rolled out of the ring, Li shoved Indi into the ring steps to take control. Despite LeRae's efforts to excite fans at ringside, it seems most people in the arena didn't care, and that it had a big impact on the overall presentation. A quiet crowd can destroy a match's momentum, and the finish didn't help things either, as the ref called off the match and declared that Hartwell couldn't compete after a hard kick to the head. The match was short and did little to make either woman look good, and outside of Becky Lynch showing up at the end to get revenge, the segment fell flat. With his tag team partner Eric injured, Ivar has had a resurgence in his wrestling career, and his singles run has seen him earn some notable wins. Last week's 4-way Intercontinental title #1 contenders match ended in controversy as The Miz won the match, but the planned finish was for Miz and Ivar to score pinfalls simultaneously. After getting into an argument with Ivar during Raw, Bronson Reed appeared during Ivar's match with The Miz, and it'd be the Australian superstar who'd make the difference. In the match, which likely would have been for the title shot had last week's match gone to plan, The Miz did a good job playing the underdog against the larger Ivar, and whenever he's a face, Miz uses moves he doesn't usually use to pop the crowd. This was another match that made sense from a storyline perspective, but did little to excite the live crowd at first, but as the action continued, the fans got more and more into the match. The finish saw Bronson Reed distract Ivar, allowing The Miz to get the roll-up and his feet on the ropes for the win, and after the match, Reed attacked Ivar and hit him with a tsunami. With this win, Miz can now turn his attention towards Gunther as he prepares to challenge the Intercontinental Champion, and what did you make of this match? Sound off in the comments. Last week, Alpha Academy's newest member Akira Tozawa faced Shinsuke Nakamura, and after winning in convincing fashion, Nakamura delivered a post-match assault on Tozawa. This would have continued had Otis not stepped into the ring to confront the King of Strong Style, setting up the match that happened on this week's Raw. Before we get into the match, we have to credit WWE for their fantastic video package about Nakamura, as the company knows how to present him as a heel. Unlike Tozawa, Otis brought the fight to Nakamura, even using Mark Henry's World's Strongest Slam, and came close to beating the former Intercontinental Champion, but it was Nakamura who'd leave with the win. That win came after Nakamura hit not one, but 3 Kinshasas, and after the match, Alpha Academy entered the ring to check on Otis, with Nakamura shoving Chad Gable. Gable had to be held back by Tozawa and Maxine Dupree, and expect a match between Chad and Nakamura to be coming to TV screens very soon. After the Otis-Nakamura match, the Alpha Academy were seen backstage when the Creed brothers joined them and hinted that they could benefit from some new training partners. The Creeds pointed out their undefeated streak, while Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree were also seen interacting, so we may be seeing the soft launch of a new alliance on Raw. For over a year, Thunder Rosa has been out with a back injury, one that would force her to vacate the AEW Women's World title, but it's been reported for some time that she's ready to return. When AEW Collision launched, Rosa was one of the names featured prominently in promotional material, and we've now had another major sign that she's ready to wrestle again. During a recent event for Republic of Lucha, Rose got involved in a match with Black Swan and Billy Starks and brawled with Starks, a fellow AEW star, outside of the ring. This caught the attention of Athena, who said that she knows what Rosa is trying to do, and the reigning ROH Women's Champion blasted Thunder Rosa as a coward. It was reported back in September that Rosa's return could happen at any time, but that time hasn't come yet. But with this brawl with Starks, Rosa's return may finally be upon us. It was back in May that Mercedes Mone suffered an ankle injury that led to plans for her as New Japan Strong Women's Champion being scrapped, and she's been on the shelf ever since. During a cameo video this week, Mone said fans can expect her to return with some wrestling company in 2024, and interestingly, did not mention her current employers at New Japan. Mone said that she feels the most at home and the most alive when she's in the ring, and is excited to get back in there, and while we don't know when it'll be, expect Mercedes Mone in the ring next year. For WrestleMania 40, it appears the WWE can go in one of 2 directions for Roman Reigns' match at the Showcase of the Immortals, Cody Rhodes or The Rock. While fans have been eager to see Rhodes finish the story in Philadelphia, bringing The Rock in would make headlines for WWE. But what does Cody himself think of this idea? Speaking on Busted Open Radio, Cody said he's not been asked about The Rock before and has a ton of respect for the Great One, even if The Rock won't take Cody's spot. He explained, "Nobody's asked me about The Rock. I think they're scared to ask me or they don't want to be rude. I'll say this about The Rock. Coming on Pat McAfee's show, which I was watching live because I love Pat, and then SmackDown, The Rock did for sports entertainment so much and continues to do so much by being the biggest star in Hollywood that I'm able to be at the level that I'm at because I can stand on shoulders like those of The Rock's. He could have come on there and run me down and I would have still had the highest respect for the Great One. He's honestly a model superstar for anyone who wants to supersede expectations." With that said, no matter what he said, anyone who asked me or confronted me on it, I'm not flinching. I feel if The Rock and I were in the same room, he would expect nothing less from me. If you think it's somebody else, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you know it's me. That's the same attitude The Rock had when he was climbing the ladder. I don't care who it is, if it happens to be The Rock, if it happens to be anybody. A wonderful superstar like L.A. Knight, a stellar performer like Sami Zayn. Line them up and I'm going to do everything I can to outrun them. I mean that with the utmost respect. I wasn't shook at all by Rock's big day out. What I would say is, not flinching. If Rock is part of WrestleMania 40, that would be outstanding. It's The Rock, but I don't think he'll be in my spot. With WrestleMania season approaching, it'll only be a few more months before WWE has to announce plans for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and it's yet to be seen who he'll face. Even after his loss this past April, many feel that Rhodes will dethrone Reigns one day, but will that day be April 7th in Philly's Lincoln Financial Field? Time will tell. When Cody Rhodes returned to WWE, he did so by scoring a trio of wins at premium live events over Seth Rollins, and at the time, it was said that their issues weren't just for entertainment. It was said that the pair genuinely disliked each other, but while appearing on Gabby AF, Rhodes explained that this is something of an exaggeration. He said, "Seth Rollins, who him and I absolutely don't love each other, I don't know. I don't have any heat with him, but that's always a tricky situation with Seth. But judging from the main event he just put on for Monday, he's up to any challenge." Rhodes and Rollins will have to get along at Survivor Series, where they will be on the same side inside Wargames, a match created by Cody's father, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Cody's been a firm fan favorite since returning, and is said to be very well liked in WWE, and while he and Seth may not see eye to eye at times, reports of heat have been vastly overblown. At Crown Jewel, Logan Paul won the United States Championship title in a win that has infuriated some fans, and now the Maverick has found another way to get under the skin of those fans. On Twitter, Paul shared a video of himself trying to pawn the US title, saying he'd gladly take $100,000 for the title, and made it clear that no one can win it from him. This isn't Paul's only egregious act with the historic championship, as in another video, Logan told his brother Jake that he's been warned by WWE not to have sex while wearing the gold. The new champion recalled a conversation at Crown Jewel with Triple H, who said that WWE is being cautious about talent not f***ing in their belts, and while Paul said he wouldn't, he told Jake that he already has. So what's next for Logan Paul in the ring? Well, during his talk with his brother, the new US champion made it clear that he'll take on all comers. He said, "Listen bro, whoever wants it. If it's Roman, if it's Cody, if it's LA Knight, I don't give a shit. I'll take on both the Usos at once. I don't give a damn. Solo? Bro, my whole life I've been solo, minus right now with Jake and all the times before that." Whoever ends up beating Logan for the title, they'll receive a huge ovation from the fans, but they should probably give the US title a thorough cleaning after what the Maverick has allegedly been doing with it. But who do you think should be Paul's next opponent? And who do you want to see beat him for the gold? Let us know in the comments. During his time with AEW, Jon Moxley has been one of the company's biggest stars, but has also suffered a series of injuries, with the most recent being a serious concussion. This concussion was addressed by former WWE star Stevie Richards in a YouTube video which has since been deleted, and that happened thanks to those in AEW. On the Café de Renee podcast, Richards said he was contacted by AEW sources who said that he had to take down the video, and Richards wanted to know exactly why. He explained, "I told them, tell me where I was wrong and where I was right. You were wrong in saying the blame is on the agents or producers. We tried to tell these kids what to do and how to be safe. They don't listen, they can't be coached." And then they went on for 10 or 20 minutes telling me how I had no idea how right I was with the video. They're collecting checks, and who can blame them? For everybody out there, I don't want AEW to go out of business. I don't care about Tony Khan or his dad, they'll have money. I don't care about the people who have paid their dues and are producers. I care about the wrestlers and their safety, but I care about the people that I know that are producers and agents in the company. I want them to get paid for as long as possible. Jon Moxley's concussion was not part of the plan, but no pro wrestling injury is expected, and Richards was doing what he felt was right by the talent and not right by Tony Khan. Time will tell if we hear more stories of AEW reaching out to take down content, as we've seen plenty of DMCA takedown notices filed by AEW, with Richards being one of many on the company's bad side. Next month, WWE will host its annual Tribute to the Troops event, and in a statement, the company confirmed that it'll air on December 8th from the Amica Mutual Pavilion in Providence, Rhode Island. This will be the 21st Tribute to the Troops show, as WWE's commitment to showing their respect and appreciation to those who served continues to get stronger with each year. Back to Raw, and prior to this week's show, WWE held its main event taping, which saw two NXT stars compete outside of the Gold brand. Tatum Paxley competed for the first time outside of NXT in a loss to Katana Chance, while Tavon Heights came up short against Apollo Crews. In women's division action, Tegan Nox defeated tag team champion Piper Niven in another match the crowd were noticeably quiet for. With Natalya at ringside, it's likely she and Nox will be challenging for the tag gold soon enough, but it remains to be seen if we'll see the titles change hands. Drew McIntyre was on Raw and broke his silence about his loss to Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel, and admitted that things had been difficult for him. Confronting Rollins, Drew said the pair had at least gone about the match fairly and shook hands with Rollins in a sign of sportsmanship between the two. Of course, Drew was far less sporting later in the night, as we saw with his interference in the main event, with questions remaining as to what's next for the Scottish Warrior. Now, Imperium and DIY have been in a heated rivalry for a while, with Ludwig Kaiser costing DIY during a recent match with the Creed brothers. This led to Kaiser facing Tommaso Ciampa this week in one of the best matches of the night, but it was Giovanni Vinci who made the differences. Despite being ejected from ringside earlier, Vinci re-emerged to attack Johnny Gargano, distracting Ciampa long enough so that Kaiser got the roll-up win. It'll be intriguing to see the dynamic between the two teams in the upcoming weeks, and what did you make of the match? Sound off in the comments. So that was this week's Raw, the penultimate Raw before Survivor Series Wargames, but did you think the show delivered? Give us your thoughts down in the comments. And we're ending with Gable Steveson, as the Olympian has been making a name for himself in NXT, and at a recent live event in Lakeland, Steveson shared the ring for the first time against his real-life brother Damon Kemp. In the end, Steveson, alongside Axiom and Brooks Jensen, defeated Kemp, Charlie Dempsey, and Miles Bourne, and it'll be interesting to see where the careers of all 6 guys go from here.